Hey guys, Patrick Wagner here. I'm excited to go through some new ways you can use Chat GPT, and I'm going to go outside of the box here and actually take on a construction project, a small little reno that I'm doing at my house. And it's a room where it's in the basement. It's partially finished. Most of it's not done. And I need to make some calculations. So I'm going to work with GPT here to help me plan out this project. And we're going to see, I'm going to do everything in the open here with you guys. So let's take some of the information I have, which is, again, I'm going to start with some simple. Let's go with the size of the room. So the room size is 93 inches by 134. And then I explain what each wall is going to be roughly. So wall number 1, 2, and 3, and roughly their size, and if they need framing, and we're going to go from there. Let's see what GPT does for us. So the first question it's asking me is, generally studs are 16 inches apart. Is that what you're going for? That is what we're going for. So I'm going to have to give that information. It's assuming it's 16 inches on center. So it tells me exactly how many studs I need for wall 1, wall 2, wall 3. The drywall calculations are here, which is fantastic. So now it's asking me for some additional information. So I'm going to go right to Home Depot and I'm going to grab this information here. Here's the drywall sheet details. This gives us the information of the price, and I'm getting drywall for the ceiling. So I know exactly how many sheets I'm going to need to cover the ceiling correctly. Approximates 5.6. So I'd order 6 sheets and it would be $98.70. Now give me a total for each of the 4 walls. Now you can see I'm not that great with telling it what to do. When I work with Bard, it's way more specific. I could never do this, where I can kind of misspell, kind of say certain things, and it'll know what I'm talking about. So here we go. Each wall, how many sheets of drywall, and the approximate price. This is great. Great. Now add up all the drywall sheets, the number of them I need to order, plus, let's go with 10% safety extra, and the total cost. Let it do that. The next thing is this quick leveling cement that I'm going to use on the floor to level it out properly before I put the next product down. So it's analyzing everything. There's the approximate total. So next, I am going to give it this information about the flooring. And one of the things I've learned about GPT is you need to give it more information. So actually, I've gone inside the PDF given by Home Depot on the product, and I'm just going to take a screenshot right from here. And I'm going to add that to my next request with Chat GPT. There we go. Now I'm going to submit this next, and we'll figure out how much self-leveling cement we're going to drop down on the floor to make it nice and level. Because the next product I'm going to use is called Dry Core, which is like an inch of foam and another ½ inch of plywood that helps insulate the floor, especially here in Canada. So what's amazing to me is GPT can analyze the image. I don't need to, find a way to cut and paste everything in there, but looks like we had an error analyzing the image. I was just going to say, worst case scenario is if you have a problem analyzing an image, In most cases, you can do exactly what I'm just about to do here, which is just cut and paste as text. And let's work through this. Here is the text version. Sometimes GPT does have issues with some of their tasks, like analyzing images, anything like that, which is fine. Like I said, all I did was cut and paste this right out of the PDF. Last time I did this test, it worked fine with the image itself. That's why I kind of wanted to do that. So it's going to calculate the next step. And then here's the next product I'm putting down. It's a 2 foot by 4 foot piece of dry core, subflooring. I love watching GPT work through problems when it's having issues sometimes too. And it's nice when you can actually see some of the details here of how it's making these calculations. If you have any questions while you're using GPT, you can ask it to explain to you exactly how it got to that number. If you don't know what it's doing or why it's doing that. Also, you can always ask it questions like, what is best practices for this product? If it doesn't know, it will probably ask you to provide additional information, and you might be able to ask it for some additional ideas of what to search to find that additional information. So as you can see here, we have 179.6 square feet for that room. It says you'll need about 9 of these bags. And again, that's dependent on how much depth and wobbliness to the floor. 1/4 inch, I think, is just about right. I just want to make it nice and level. And then next is these dry core sheets that go underneath. And then we put flooring on top of that. So let's do that. So let's add the dry core to this next. Let's review the next product, dry core. So these come in 10 panels in a pack. So again, little things that are a pain in the butt for the average person to start doing a bunch of math to deciding exactly how many of these to buy, how many will you have too many, and understanding whether there's a value to buying these packs or individually once you get to a certain point. Because you might need only 22 and you don't need 8 extra panels. And then sometimes you have no choice and there are no other options and you can't actually buy anything but these in the 10 packs. And so I think that's a great way of at least showing all the information and then let GPT do some analysis here. And then next after that, we're going to jump to the last thing on the list, which is just the floorboard on the floor. I actually already have everything else. So it says we'll need about 3 boxes. Because of the fact that what we just talked about, each box contains 10 panels. So I'll find out if I can get those in singular panels rather than just the 10s and see if I can make it less than those 3 boxes. But for this example, it works great. Next, we're going to go to the floorboards, baseboards. They come in packs of 6 for $147. Let's do the final floorboards. See below. So this is again a perimeter question. Using perimeter, understanding the costs and the 6-pack. I think this is one of those things that, again, just makes life really quick and easy to figure these things out. It's going to perform some of these calculations, and I think we'll be able to summarize this, and hopefully I'll have a purchase list, or at least a rough estimate of all the costs and approximate stuff that I need, so that when I finalize the drawings and the image behind what I'm going to do, I already know exactly how many pieces of wood are going to go where, so it only verifies that through the drawings rather than making sure it's exactly right. So this one says only 2 packs. This is another one of those where we might get some extra and I'll have to double check and see if it's worth the 2 packs or 1 full pack and some singles. So let's see what GPT can do for us here. Let's summarize all details and create a simple list of what to buy and the costs. Approximated, as well as any additional valuable insight you feel I might need. GPT is really good when you ask it to do or come up with novel ideas, things that are new and different that have not been thought of, which is always an advantageous thing. In this case, I don't think that's what we're going to get, but this is exactly what I was hoping for. Together, we've come together. I've shown you the materials. I know roughly what I need to get here. I think the only thing that's missing here are the 2x3s. Right? That's what it looks like. So I'm going to go here and check out what a 2x3 will cost us. Good old Canada. There we go. 2x3 jointed lumber, $344. I'll add that to the mix here. I'll add that to the mix here. Let's include the 2x3s, studs required for framing. Oopsie. I'll make sure it's actually the right number. There we go. The last one. And then we should have what I've been looking for, which is basically my rough list of what I need to buy. So 23 sheets of drywall for $380, 9 bags of quick leveling, under laminate for $342, 3 boxes of dry core subfloor paneling, 2 packs of MDF baseboard, and 26 studs for framing at around $89.44. So there you go. I think you could look at this and decide something like, what order should I buy these products to not fill my entire work area? This is sometimes the thought process stuff that GPT really does a great job of helping you figure out. Because if you haven't done these projects before, or you're not an expert in these things, you're always going to do it more difficult than you should. So taking advantage of these things and asking GPT to help you is very useful. So as you can see here, let's do the framing first. Once that's done, then you're going to self-level the floor. Then you put down your floor panels. Then we'll put the floor, or then the drywall goes down. And then your baseboards. Somewhere in between here is actually the floorboards as well that go down on top of those subfloor panels. And that's it. So we have a total for the project roughly. Now, if you know where you are and your taxes, you can throw that in so you have a rough estimate. You can even then break it down to give me the costs of each of these in that order. So let's consider each of these will take a week. Please break down all costs for each. So I know what I'm spending weekly for each. So this is the kind of planning and understanding aspects that GPT does really well. So just by asking it that, we've kind of broken out the project. Now you can go further. I'm not going to go too much further in this example, but I'm going to show you guys, you could go further and say exactly who's doing the work, and it'll be even smarter with the estimation. So let's consider I am doing this with only myself and my 14-year-old son, leveraging an extra hour a day. Give me a reasonable schedule to complete this work. I love this part actually about GPT, because this is where you start to see some of our own human flaws and our own inability to see the future, in the sense of like planning things out. Because in my head I could say, hey, oh yeah, this should take week by week, 5 weeks, I'm done, no problem. And not realizing that some of these things, let's say like drywall installation, are going to take weeks and weeks. The age of the person, the timing I've provided really is going to tell you a lot as well. So it knows who you are, who your team is, what they're capable of, what's possible, right? This is the one I thought it'd catch me on, giving me a week for drywall installation. I think that's a little bit crazy for two people who aren't experts in it, but hey, you know what I mean? If you think that's the case, you can always say, be more realistic with your planning. I'm going to say, let's be more realistic with two non-pros working at this. Will take longer in drywall, hanging, and finishing. Be more real with the dates. Don't feel the need to keep the ones started with. So you give it permission to work outside of the boxes that you've provided previously, because a lot of times, again, GPT is analyzing the framework you've given and working within that box. So it makes just as much sense to kind of flip that script a little bit and tell it, listen, do whatever you need to do, think outside, and let's get this done. There we go. Let's see, hopefully. Now, luckily, I'm not brand new at installation or finishing, so whatever it gives us here, I'm going to be better at. But there we go. So it's adjusted it to 7 or 8 weeks instead of the initial 5. And that, to me, makes a lot more sense, because I'm telling you, there's no way in hell someone can do some of these drywall things the way they're talking about it. Now, it looks way more realistic. So now I actually have a pretty decent plan. So when I go to speak to my wife about this project, now I have the pricing. It's going to be roughly under $2,000, $1,600 to $1,800, let's say almost 2 with taxes here. And I have a much more realistic, schedule of the 7 to 8 weeks, rather than me maybe having this very overly optimistic time frame of thinking 5 weeks because, you know what I mean? It's holidays, rather than being more realistic with, hey, there's only 1 1/4 of you, so let's be realistic, and here's how. This is another one where if you have worries like, what if I get injured? What if I have a problem with any of these things? This is a great place where you can say, with this plan, if something happens, you can introduce or bring someone in. So let's say I do something and I can't do this drywall installation. Well, it's easy for me to organize somebody and find someone, let's say on Facebook Marketplace or Kijiji, and say, hey, in week 5, I need someone to come and hang this many pieces of drywall. This is the size of the room. Here's the task. So I can go back to GPT and say, for this task, let's hammer out the details of this, and let's find somebody to do this task because I won't have the time to do it. So it continues to work with you in this general contractor type assistant way, which I find incredibly useful and very productive. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I really wanted to go outside of the box and show you kind of like what it is. I'm going to do one last little VIP thing here, and let's see if it does it. Prepare a beautiful PDF report with all of this detailed information you've gathered in this thread, so I can print it out and use it when completing my plans and orders. Let's see if this actually works. What I love about GPT is I've been using it now for the whole last year, and there's things that I used in the beginning that I've stopped using, like these types of functions where you can ask it to do very cool things, but you don't really need it too often because you're kind of creating parts and aspects that go into other software and other things. But in these cases, when you're doing your own personal stuff, I find it's actually really useful to do this kind of work and not have to be worrying about the notes, worrying about the details. Instead, we get this. Look at that. All the details for material costs, additional notes, and the 8-week plan. I don't know. I love it. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this helps you understand how AI can be leveraged in other capacities than most people are thinking about to make things easier, faster, more efficient for you. Let's leverage AI in a big way in 2024.